In this video, find out how to install a closet shelf. Find out how, coming up next.
What's going on, guys? Kendall here for Renos for Pros and Joes, helping you simplify the renovation and remodeling process. On this channel, we do hands-on product, tool, and gear reviews, as well as renovation tip and strategy videos like this one. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install a closet shelf. And the first thing we're going to do is start by going over the tools that you will need to complete the job. So let's jump right into it. First tool that you're going to need is going to be a tape measure, particularly if you have not already cut your wire shelving down to the exact size that you need. You may want to leave a little bit on there and trim it down to the exact dimensions once you're back on your job site and are able to work with the shelf in place. Next tool that you can use is going to be a Phillips head screwdriver. If you have power tools and things like that, you can also use an impact driver, but I would not recommend going out and purchasing one just for the purposes of doing this project unless you have a whole lot of closet shelving to install. If you are using impact driver, you will need a Phillips head bit for the impact driver. You also need a drill, and any type of drill will probably fit the bill, any run-of-the-mill drill. You will need a 1/4-inch drill bit. That's typically what's going to be used in most of your standard closet shelving. You can buy these singles or you can buy them in a package. If you buy them in a package, it will be clearly labeled in the slot that it is sitting in within the little case that it comes in. And if you buy them singularly, it will be on the package. And you can also see in very, very fine print the size of the drill bit on the actual bit. Although it's not necessarily required, a hammer can also come in handy when you're trying to tap in some of these components to the shelving system. The next item that you're going to use is going to be a level, and you're going to use a level to make sure that the closet shelf is level. Another tool that I like to use is a bullet level, and this is a very small level and it allows you to make sure that your closet is level from front to back, because your standard level is going to be longer than the depth of a standard closet. So that concludes the tools that you'll need for this project. Now we'll cover the closet materials that you will need, and we'll start with the obvious one, which is the metal shelving. You're going to buy this in the lengths that you need based on the size of the space that you're going to be adding a closet system to. Next, you're going to have end brackets for your closet system, and they're going to look something like this. These brackets typically come with the fasteners that are going to be going into the walls to hold it in place, and they are going to look like this. This is a push pin, and it actually is 2 pieces, so you're going to drill your holes in the wall and then insert this plastic piece, which then spreads out when you drive the pin in. You also have supports on the back side of the closet. And these actually come in 2 different styles. However, they do the same thing. This is what they look like. In the front, they look exactly the same. From the side, however, you can see that they're different. This one has the portion that goes into the wall attached to the hook. This one is just a hook. So the style that has the wall portion attached actually uses a push pin as well. The style that does not have the wall portion on it actually works in conjunction with a wall anchor that typically comes with these type of hangers. And for this type of installation, you're going to drill the hole just like with the other style. You're going to insert the wall anchor, then place this piece over the wall anchor hole, and then you're going to use a screw and screw the screw into the hole, and that's how you're going to install that one. So these are 2 different styles, 1 push pin, 1 screw. The final pieces you're going to have for this closet system is going to be the bottom support. This portion is the top part that hooks into the underside of the closet shelf, and then on this end, this is the portion that goes into the wall. You see there's 1 hole here. You're going to pre-drill your hole in the wall, and then you're going to use your push pin to insert the fastener. And again, this is the push pin. This is typically what's going to be used and what comes with these. Keep in mind, guys, that these type of fasteners and these type of supports typically have the components with them to fasten them to the wall, so you don't typically have to worry about that. However, depending on the size and the length of the area that you're working with, you may have to buy some of these components individually. For reference point, supports like this are supposed to be installed every 3 feet, if I'm not mistaken, and then the supports like this are actually recommended to be installed every foot. However, that's going to be at your discretion if you choose to vary from that. But I have told you the correct information. Okay guys, now for the moment that you've all been waiting for, let's jump into the closet. And let me add one more tidbit of advice before we do that. With regards to the length of your closet shelving, make sure that you have enough room or enough play on the end of this thing so that you can get it into place, and also that it will fit securely within your support brackets without being too tight. If you cut this thing the exact width of the closet, you're gonna be fighting with it the entire time to get it in there. Your closet shelving is not gonna lay down right once you get it in there, and you're gonna have problems from start to finish trying to install it, and it's probably not gonna come out looking as good. So make sure that when you cut it down to a width that's workable, where you still got complete coverage inside the closet, but you've got a little bit of space in the end to allow the closet to slip into the slots there that you're gonna be housing them in. And I'm gonna show you a second time. This is the size of the housing. So the housing is approximately 1.5 to 2 inches. So anything in here essentially is fair game. So if you've got, you know, 1/4 inch on either side here, you're still good to go. So don't try to have it jam up where you have to try and force the end past this portion, because I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually deeper once you get past the top part of the bracket there. But you'll see that when you've got these in hand. But please take that piece of advice and it will make your installation process a lot easier. One more small tidbit. When you're working with your closet shelving unit, sometimes the longer that the shelving piece is, the more difficult it is to get into the closet. I found that if you hold the shelving unit up lengthwise, instead of trying to hold it in the closet in its final position where you've got it flat, if you hold one end up so that it's standing tall this way, it's easier to maneuver. So when you take it into the closet, take it in caddy corner, and then work to straighten it out and bring it back to the back wall so that you can work with it. Okay guys, it's installation time. The first thing that we're gonna do is use our tape measure to mark from the floor up on the wall the height that we want our shelf to be. And then we're gonna use our level to measure off and mark the perimeter of the closet at the exact height that we want the shelf to be, to make sure that it's gonna be level before we start to drill our holes. So let's jump into it. Okay guys, I'm inside the closet and I'm about to start marking off my locations for my closet shelf. We're gonna have this closet shelf at 65 inches since we're only gonna have one. It's up to you the height that you choose to install your closet shelf. If you want to have 1 or 2, it's personal preference. So see you guys in a second. Okay guys, now that we've marked off all of our locations on the wall, it's time to get out our drill and our 1/4 inch bit and drill our pilot holes for our wall anchors. One more small piece of advice before we start drilling our holes. The brackets that hold the front of the closet shelf in place, I don't like to install those until my anchors along my back wall are already in place, so I don't drill the holes on the side walls until my back wall is complete and everything is in place. And I'll explain why here in 1 second.
Okay, per manufacturer's instructions, guys, Most of these installation kits are going to require that you put one bracket on either end of the closet or each end of the closet. You're going to want to have that spaced about 2 inches in off of the wall that's on the side. So I've saved to do that last. I've got my wall anchor holes spaced out along the back wall except for the ones on the end. I have marked off the locations on the wall, so now I can just essentially measure in 3 inches or 2 inches and drill my hole, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Okay guys, I've got all my holes drilled along the back wall, as you can see. I'm actually going to be using the wall anchors that have the screws instead of the push pins. So I'm just going to put all of my anchors in the wall, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay guys, if you can see, when I went to put my wall anchor in this one, I remembered that this one actually had hit a stud. So we're not going to need an all wall anchor for that. We're just going to simply install a screw, and it will sink into the wood stud behind it, and that will provide us with sufficient support. So on to the next step. Okay guys, as I stated before, I'm going to be using the wall anchor style that has the wall anchor separate from the hook. But just in case you are using the other style that I showed in the beginning, instead of putting in the separate wall anchor, you would just place this piece in the wall at this point. So I can pull one out just to show you. Okay, so we got that one out. So instead of putting in this piece in the wall, you're gonna put this one in. And it just goes in like that. So when you're using the wall anchors like I am, you're gonna then be driving in a Phillips head screw to hold it in place. If you're using this style of anchor that has the hook attached to it, you're just gonna be using the push pin. So in this case, you just push this pin in here, push it all the way into the wall, and you're done. But back to the way that I was doing mine. Okay guys, I've got my shelf popped in along the back wall. And I'm gonna tell you right now the reason why I don't like to put my sidewall brackets in first is because you need a certain amount of spacing along the back of your shelving unit. And if you just take the shelving unit and dry fit it in here with no brackets on the back, you don't have the proper spacing to make sure that you have your wall bracket in place. And what that does is you could end up having your wall bracket just about 1/4 of an inch too close to the back wall, and that can cause your shelving unit to fit very tightly and kind of bow up because it's kind of accordioned in too tight. So we've got our unit in along the back wall now, and now we're gonna take the steps to install our sidewall bracket. So this is where our small bullet level comes into play because we're wanting to measure or make sure that our unit is level from front to back. So you can see that the level is short enough to sit up here, and it will let us know accurately whether or not we're too low in the front or too high in the front. And we're gonna use this to kind of gauge where we need to be on each end. We can take our bracket and actually sit it in place right now as we have our level here and look at everything at the same time. And one more $1 million tip is that the hole is actually big enough for the 1/4 inch bit to fit through. So if you really are trying to save time, you can just screw or drill straight through the hole once you have the bracket in place, and that way you know you've got it exactly where it needs to be. Just a time saver, guys. You can see I've slipped my bracket in place here on the end. And then I've got my level here to get a solid reading. Down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I'm back in here. I slip my bracket on right here if you can see it. And then I'm just gonna push my push pins in. Got one in there secured. There we go, got that one in. And when you've got it installed like this, you're almost home free. Now you can either try to push the pins in, or as I said, at this point, a hammer can come in very handy, because then you can just drive them into place. The other one's gonna be a little more difficult to get to, but same principle applies. We'll try to push it in with the tail end of the hammer. So there we go. Same difference, same end result. Let's do the other end. Okay guys, as you can see, we've got the shelf in here. It is straight. And the last thing that we have to do to complete the install is to install our underside support brackets. Okay, and these are gonna be going approximately every 3 feet. I like to space mine a little closer together than that for a little additional rigidness to the shelf. Also, you need to install one on each end of the shelf close to the sidewall brackets. So probably 2 inches off of each end would be good. And then 3 inches or 3 feet apart minimum along the entire run of your shelving. So another thing that you can do here, I'm gonna show you real quickly how you can do this pretty quickly. The bracket piece has 2 little teeth there, and you're gonna pick your location here along each one of these individual wire pieces. You're gonna push this in there like that, and then you're gonna push it back. When these come out of the package, they are a little bit straighter than they're gonna be once you have them installed, so don't be afraid to push it back slightly. It's gonna bend the metal a little bit just so you can bend it into place. That's normal. And then you can see here down low that it is now touching the wall. And this is the location where we're gonna put our hole for our support to hold it in place. Now, one other piece of added advice is to make sure that you've got everything lined up here. So you wanna make sure that here, this individual piece that you have the teeth around is lined up with the support immediately underneath it. That's gonna give it the most support. You wanna make sure that you don't have it off to the left or right, because that's not gonna give you as strong of a support. So you wanna have it in there just like that. Not sure that this is the exact location where I want mine, but I will show you over here. So I've already done one support hole here. So I'm gonna come over approximately to that same location where I just was. I'm gonna take my drill bit and just drill my hole right there. Done. Ready for my piece to go in. This is a push pin. Which is what comes with these. We'll just tap it in here with our hammer. Got it in there pretty good. It's a little loose, but it's gonna be shored up once we drive our push pin in there. See, now it's tight. And we're just gonna repeat that process all the way down the line. Just grab another bracket here and make sure that I'm lined up. As I said, guys, you can see that this is kind of straight. I have to bend it back to make it go exactly where it needs to. Then I just push my push pin in. Sometimes you'll be able to push the push pin all the way in without removing the pin out. Other times you'll have to pull out the pin and then just tap it in there lightly and then push your pin in. There we go. Okay guys, that concludes the instructions on how to install a closet shelf. Don't forget guys, take your time with this one. You definitely can do this on your own. Measure twice, cut once, measure twice, drill once, and make sure that you just take your time overall, and you should be able to pull this off without any hiccups. Hopefully you found this video informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.